we're here today with Bishop Fritz Lobinger. The Pope referred to your book, Teams of Elders, and to your ideas around the community of priests or elders who could be priests. Could you say something about that?
Yes. My suggestion is to have two types of priests. The ones are full-timers, the others are part-timers. The ones work alone, usually one priest per community. The other group would be teams of, and I use the word elders. It's not to confuse them. If they use the same word, priests, the people would expect too much of people who are part-time workers, bus drivers, bank directors, but not theologians. So I suggest we need two types of priests, then none will feel redundant, each one will need the other.
So in other words, what you're saying is that there could be complementary roles very much.
Very much so.
An ordained priest in the full sense is somebody who is theologically trained and able to counsel, minister, and orientate those teams of elders.
Yes.
The ordained priest would be available to his diocese
Yes.
or to a particular diocese, and possibly even to the church worldwide, if he were called to being a bishop or an archbishop, etc. And those who are teams of elders are very much local, specifically located within their villages, within their towns, within cities.
Yes.
But I presume that you mean this specifically for those places where priests are difficult to come by and people celebrate Mass maybe once a year.
Yes, very much so. These teams of elders are living in their communities. They will not be transferred anywhere. But the priests in the sense of full-time priests, they can be transferred to where they are needed. This will also have the advantage that the present priests will not say, "What about me then? Then I'm redundant. What role is mine if the others, without theology, can do the same as I? Then I've studied for nothing." And these two roles, as you said, are complementary.
And in terms of these teams of elders, we would be thinking of anybody, whether man or woman, who could serve in this particular role.
Well, we know that in all these communities, among the active people, there are proven men and proven women. Our present church legislation does not allow the ordination of women. So we have to put that problem aside for the moment. The most important thing for us is to find communities who have proven people, that we have priests who are prepared to teach and form these people.
The Pope seems to speak around this issue, particularly as he looks towards the synod at
Yes.
on the Amazon.
Yes.
I spent quite a bit of time in Brazil for my theology and visited the Amazon, where I met communities that would sometimes celebrate Mass every 3 years,
Yes.
depending on the river and
Yes.
whether the river allowed the priest to pass in.
Exactly, yes.
So in a situation like this would most certainly help.
I think at this moment and at the synod for the Amazon, we will look at the places in the church which are best prepared for such a new step. This is something very new, and you better start it where there's best chances. And the Amazon area is one of those. South Africa has a less severe priest shortage. The whole church would need it, not only places with shortage of priests, but we should start where the best starting point is. And that is Latin America, not only Amazon, Latin America and Asia. South Africa will also follow later, I think.
And even Europe. So
Yes.
one of the things that I read in preparation to have this conversation with you is that, in fact, this is not the first time that Pope Francis has spoken about this and mentioned your name. He mentioned this to the ad limina of German bishops in 2015.
Yes.
Why mention this to the German bishops? What is the situation of the German church, particularly?
In Germany, the communities are more forceful. Say, we want a priest, get him wherever you can. So they are under much severe pressure to find a solution. But we must say it must be a success. Therefore, we must go to the place where there is most chance of being a success, and that would be Latin America and Asia.
Most certainly. One final thing. I'm thinking about your own priesthood, and your own priesthood in the full ordained sense of the priesthood and the teaching ministry. And the Pope divided very much what he's thinking about in terms of this new priesthood into those who would be able to perform all three of those functions of the priest, like yourself, and those who would then only be able to perform the celebration of Mass and the sacraments in that particular case. I wanted to know from you, in terms of your own priesthood, what is the value of priesthood today, full ordained priesthood, given the possibility for these new options?
The priesthood is the same all the time. The sacrament of priesthood remains the same. But each time and each place has its own demands. For these our areas, I think the Sunday celebration is a foremost thing. And the formation of lay people. Because we must not only think of these who might be ordained. A community which is alive has many hundreds of active lay people, and they all need formation. This formation of the laity on a broad basis is top priority.
I believe you celebrated your 90th birthday most recently.
Just 2 weeks ago.
Just 2 weeks ago.
That's my speech is also a bit halted.
Well, and here you are, walking around. We've walked to the other end of the garden to have this conversation.
Okay.
You have great energy.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Bishop.
Well,
Thank you for your
too.
time.
And I wish you the best for your starting Spotlight Africa.
Thank you very much.